Vikings slept sitting up, not because beds were rare, not because their backs hurt. It was because lying flat in the dark felt like handing your throat to the night. Here's what actually happened inside those freezing longhouses over 1,000 years ago. And here's why your own body still refuses to fully shut down when you climb into bed tonight. Because the reason a Viking slept propped against a wall is the same reason you check your phone one last time before you close your eyes. Same instinct, different century. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't a boring history lesson. This is about why you wake up at 3 in the morning for no reason, and why the safest generation in history still can't sleep. It starts with a wooden bench in Norway. First, let's go back to the Viking Age, around the year 900. Picture a longhouse. One long wooden room, a fire burning in the middle, smoke curling along the ceiling, 20 people packed in shoulder to shoulder. No separate bedrooms, no privacy, just one shared space that had to keep everyone alive until morning. There was no soft mattress waiting for you. Along the walls ran a raised wooden platform, and that single plank was the bed, the couch, the dinner seat, and the storage chest all at once. You got a bench, a fur or two, and whatever warmth the body next to you was willing to give off. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A lot of Norse people didn't stretch out flat to sleep. They leaned back against the wall, propped up, half reclined, almost sitting. And historians believe a big part of the reason was brutally simple: survival. Lying flat, in total darkness, in a world with no locks, no police, no streetlights, meant you were completely defenseless. A rival clan could show up at night with axes. That fire in the middle of the room could jump to the wooden walls in seconds. Sitting up meant you could be on your feet and armed before you were even fully awake. Sounds simple, but it wasn't just paranoia. In the Viking Age, night was genuinely the deadliest part of the day. Raiders struck when people slept. Predators crept closer to the settlement. And the winter cold could quietly kill anyone who drifted too far from the fire. So the body learned a trick and passed it down. Never sleep all the way. Stay a little tense. Stay ready. Now, fast forward to today. You're in bed, warm, doors locked, alarm set, phone charging beside your head. And your brain still refuses to fully let go. A pipe creaks in the wall, and your eyes snap open. Your phone lights up, and your heart jumps before you've even read the notification. That's not a defect. That's the exact same ancient wiring the Viking ran on. Still firing in a bedroom that hasn't been raided in 1,000 years. The threat is gone. The alarm system stayed. Sound familiar? Here's the part most people never notice. That Viking instinct wasn't only about attackers and fire. A huge piece of it was the group. In a longhouse, you slept crammed together because being alone at night literally meant death. The cold killed you. Isolation killed you. Getting pushed out of the group wasn't just lonely. In the Viking Age, it was basically a death sentence by sunrise. No tribe meant no fire, no food, no protection. So sleeping in a tight, warm, crowded pile of bodies wasn't uncomfortable to them. It was the safest feeling in the world. It was belonging. You could feel on your skin. And today, that identical wiring is still running. It just wears a different outfit. You're alone in your apartment, completely safe, and yet you fall asleep scrolling through strangers' lives on a glowing screen. You tell yourself it's entertainment. It isn't. You're looking for the group. Every like, every comment, every reply is your brain ticking the same box a Viking ticked by feeling a warm shoulder pressed against his in the dark. Am I still part of the tribe? Do they still want me here? Notice something? The fear never left. It just moved into your pocket. Here's where it gets strange. The Vikings actually understood the dread that comes at night. Old Norse poetry talks about the mind turning dark in the small hours, about worries that grow teeth once the fire burns low. A warrior who feared nothing in daylight would lie in that long house and think about death, about the long winter, about whether the food would last. And that's exactly where it gets dark. The Norse also believed the night belonged to things worse than men. They told stories of the Draugr, the walking dead, corpses that climbed out of their graves in the black hours to crush the living. Whether they truly believed it or not, the message was the same. When the sun went down, the world stopped being safe. Now think about your own 3 a.m. You're not scared of walking corpses or a failed harvest. You're scared of a text you never answered, a bill that's overdue, a meeting you're not ready for. Different monsters, identical feeling. That heavy, racing, staring at the ceiling dread is the same signal that once warned a Norse farmer that winter was coming and the stores were running thin. Your nervous system can't tell a real wolf from an unpaid invoice. To the oldest part of your brain, both of them are wolves at the door. The Vikings also took the night's images seriously. In Norse culture, dreams were messages, warnings, omens about battles and deaths still to come. So even asleep, part of the mind stayed on alert, reading the dark for signs. Rest was never fully switched off. It was always half working, half watching. And today, your dreams do something eerily similar. Stress leaks straight into them. You dream about the job, the argument, the deadline, and you wake up more tired than when you lay down. Your sleeping brain is still sorting threats, still on shift, exactly like the Norsemen waiting for an omen in the dark. And back in the Viking Age, nobody woke up to a screaming alarm. There were no clocks. You slept when the light died and stirred when it returned, your whole body tuned to the sun rolling over the fjord. Sleep ended gently, on its own, the way the body actually wants it to. Now, compare that to your morning. A blaring alarm rips you out of the deepest part of your sleep, heart pounding, before the sun is even up. The first thing your body feels every single day is a jolt of panic on command. The Viking woke to sunlight. You wake to a fire drill you set for yourself. Here's a difference that actually favored them. A Viking's day was brutal, physical work. Rowing, farming, hauling, building. By nightfall, the body was truly spent, and that kind of exhaustion drops you into deep, heavy sleep, whether your mind likes it or not. Their tired bodies overrode their anxious brains. Now look at your day. You sat, you stared at screens, your brain ran a marathon while your body barely moved. So at night, you get the worst possible combo. A mind that's exhausted and a body with energy to burn. You're wired and tired at the same time, staring at the ceiling, wondering why sleep won't come. And never forget how cold it was. A Viking longhouse in winter was freezing the moment that central fire dropped low. People slept in their clothes, buried under furs, pressed against animals and each other just to keep their blood warm. Sleep was a nightly battle against the cold, and losing it could mean not waking up at all. Now you've got central heating, an electric blanket, and a thermostat you can tap from your phone. You have solved the cold completely. Your ancestors would weep at how comfortable your bed is. And yet you still lie there awake, because the thing keeping you up was never the temperature. It was the alarm in your head. Here's another thing the Vikings leaned on: mead. In the longhouse, a horn of strong honey ale before bed wasn't just a party. It was medicine to knock a tired, anxious body out cold. Drink enough, and the racing mind finally goes quiet, and you slump against the wall until morning. Sound familiar? Because right now, millions of people do the exact same thing. A glass of wine to unwind, a gummy of melatonin, a pill to force the brain offline. We've swapped the mead horn for a wine glass and a pharmacy, but the move is identical. We're still drugging ourselves to escape a mind that won't stop guarding us. And here's a detail almost nobody knows. In the Viking Age, people often didn't sleep in one long block like we try to. They slept in 2 shifts. A first sleep after dark, then a natural wake-up in the deep of the night, an hour or 2 awake by the fire, then a second sleep until dawn. Waking at night wasn't a problem back then. It was normal. It was built in. So here's the twist that should bother you. When you jolt awake at 3 a.m. and panic that your sleep is broken, you might not be broken at all. You might be doing something a Viking did every single night without a second thought. The difference is, he sat quietly by the fire, and you grab your phone and pour blue light and bad news straight into your eyes. Back in the longhouse, someone had to keep the fire alive through the night. Let it die, and the whole family could freeze before morning. So there was always a low, flickering awareness in the room, someone half listening, someone tending the coals. The Viking mind never got true, total silence. There was always one ear open for danger. And right now, you've recreated that exact thing on purpose. Your phone sits inches from your head, screen down, buzzing through the night. You are the firekeeper again, except the fire is a group chat. And the thing you're guarding against isn't a raid, it's the fear of missing something. You wake, you check, you tend the glow, you drift off. Same ritual, dumber fire. And here's the detail that changes everything. We're convinced we've escaped all of this. We have locked doors, cameras, heated walls, a fridge full of food. On paper, you are safer tonight than any Viking who ever lived was on his best night. So why do so many of us sleep worse than a warrior on a hard wooden bench? Because we deleted the danger, but we kept the alarm. And then, brilliantly, we handed that ancient alarm a device that lights up and vibrates all night long. The Vikings' fear at least pointed at something real. Ours points at a screen. This is the contrast nobody talks about. The Viking slept lightly because the threat was real but rare. A raid maybe once a season, a hard winter once a year. You sleep lightly because the threat is fake but constant. Your phone doesn't come for you once a year. It pings you 100 times a day. The Norsemen's fear had an off switch. Survive the night, and dawn brought real relief. You made it. You're safe. The danger passed. Your fear has no dawn. The messages never stop. The feed never ends. The little red numbers just keep climbing. There is no morning that finally says, okay, you can relax now. And think about what rest even meant to them. A Viking never got a true day off from vigilance. Even in sleep, one part of the brain stood guard, ready to explode into action. Real, deep, defenseless rest was a luxury almost nobody could afford. The body simply would not allow it, because letting go completely could get you killed. And here's the quiet tragedy of right now. You do the same thing, but for nothing. You call scrolling in bed relaxing, yet your brain treats every post like a tiny threat to scan. You never fully clock out either. You just trade a real enemy at the door for 1,000 fake ones on a screen and call it rest. But here's where it gets genuinely dark. That upright, half-alert sleep the Vikings lived with was not good for them. Broken, shallow rest wears a body down fast. It shortens your temper, weakens your defenses against sickness, and ages you quicker than the years alone ever could. The Vikings paid for their constant vigilance in raw years off their lives. And here's the uncomfortable part. You are paying the exact same price, except no one is coming to raid you. You're throwing away your sleep to a glowing rectangle, willingly, night after night, for threats that were never real to begin with. So, did we actually evolve? In one way, completely. You can lie flat, in the dark, alone, with both eyes shut, and wake up alive with near total certainty. The Viking could never fully trust that. That is real, staggering progress, and it's insanely easy to forget how rare it is. Almost every human who ever lived would trade everything they owned for one guaranteed, undisturbed, safe night's sleep. The exact thing you casually throw in the trash every time you doom scroll until 1 in the morning. But in another way, we quietly walked backwards. The Vikings' alertness had a job. It kept him breathing. Ours mostly just keeps us anxious. We took a survival tool forged for genuine, throat-cutting danger and aimed it at emails, likes, and the opinions of people we'll never meet. We're running life or death software on problems that are not life or death. The body never got the memo that the raids ended 1,000 years ago. The watchman is still at his post, guarding a village that turned into an apartment with good Wi-Fi. If you like this kind of then and now breakdown, where one weird old instinct explains something broken about modern life, subscribe. This whole channel is basically a tour of why your ancient body keeps misfiring in a world it was never designed for. So here's the thought to lie down with tonight. When your head hits the pillow and your mind refuses to switch off, you are not weak and you are not broken. You're a Viking in a memory foam bed. The longhouse is gone. The raids are gone. The fire in the middle of the room went out 1,000 years ago. But the watchman inside you never got the message that the war is over. He's still sitting up, back against the wall, listening for a threat that stopped coming 10 centuries ago. Tonight, maybe let him rest.